Do you still remember House of Payne? It turned family chaos into laughter, warmth, and unforgettable characters. But 20 years later, the truth is far darker. Behind the smiles were broken marriages, silent struggles, legal trouble, and careers that took painful turns you'd never expect. Join us as we revisit their real names, uncover what truly happened, and honor the legacies they left behind. LaVan Davis as Curtis Payne. LaVan Davis was born on September 21, 1966, in Atlanta, Georgia. At 40 years old, he played Curtis Payne, the blunt, stubborn, and explosive patriarch in House of Payne. Curtis was not just comic relief. His presence anchored the family's chaos, giving the series its emotional weight and making the Payne household feel uncomfortably real. That on-screen intensity stood in sharp contrast to Davis's off-screen choices. As his fame grew, he deliberately kept his personal life out of the spotlight, never confirming a marriage and firmly denying long-running rumors linking him romantically to co-star Cassie Davis. Instead, he poured his energy into work, building trust with audiences through consistency rather than spectacle, and quietly expanding his resume with roles tied closely to Tyler Perry's storytelling world. That professional focus demanded stamina. Year after year, Davis carried the physical and emotional load of a long-running sitcom while also returning to the stage, a balance that required discipline rather than dramatic reinvention. His steadiness allowed him to remain relevant without chasing trends, turning Curtis Payne into a role that aged alongside its audience. Today, LaVan Davis is 60 years old, still active in entertainment and closely associated with Perry's productions. His estimated $10 million net worth, largely earned through House of Payne and its spin-offs, reflects a career built on endurance, proof that staying power, not noise, is what ultimately lasts. Lance Gross as Calvin Payne. Lance Gross was born on July 8, 1981, in Oakland, California. At 25 years old, he played Calvin Payne, the ambitious, impulsive young professional in House of Payne. Calvin's restless energy gave the series its youthful counterweight, allowing the show to explore growing pains alongside family tradition. As Calvin matured on screen, Gross faced turning points in his own life. An early, highly publicized relationship with actress Eva Marcille ended in 2010, forcing him to navigate heartbreak while his career was accelerating. That period reshaped his outlook, and when he later married fashion stylist Rebecca Jefferson in 2015, stability replaced uncertainty, deepening his sense of responsibility beyond acting. With that balance came a broader career focus. Gross transitioned carefully from sitcom fame into more dramatic territory, appearing in projects such as Temptation, Confessions of a Marriage Counselor, and later establishing himself in television dramas, proving he could exist beyond a single defining role. The shift required restraint and patience, especially after years of being identified almost exclusively as Calvin Payne. Now, Lance Gross is 45 years old, continuing to work as an actor while also pursuing photography and creative production. His estimated $1.5 million net worth reflects a career shaped by steady evolution rather than sudden reinvention. Laramie Doc Shaw as Malik Payne. Laramie Doc Shaw was born on April 24, 1992, in Atlanta, Georgia. At 14 years old, he played Malik Payne, the witty, impulsive teenager in House of Payne, 2006. Malik's evolution from mischievous kid to young adult gave the series continuity and a rare sense of realism. That early success, however, came with pressure. Balancing school with long shooting schedules forced Shaw to mature quickly, and much of his adolescence unfolded under studio lights instead of away from them. As the sitcom years ended, he leaned into momentum rather than nostalgia, stepping into youth-driven projects that kept him visible without trapping him in a single image. The transition away from being a child star defined the next phase. Shaw took on more controlled, less public-facing work, including leading roles on Disney projects and later shifting toward voice work, where anonymity replaced constant scrutiny. That pivot allowed him to stay creative while avoiding the burnout that often shadows actors who grow up on television. Today, Doc Shaw is 34 years old, still active in voice acting and selective entertainment work. With an estimated net worth of around $1 million, largely rooted in his teenage success on House of Payne, his career reflects a quiet recalibration, choosing longevity over the spotlight that once found him too early. Demetria McKinney as Janine Payne. Demetria McKinney was born on August 27, 1979, in Albuquerque, New Mexico. At 27 years old, she played Janine Payne, the fragile, struggling wife and mother in House of Payne, 2006. Janine's arc brought addiction, loss, and redemption into a sitcom format, deepening the show's emotional stakes. That raw authenticity was rooted in lived hardship. McKinney entered adulthood facing homelessness at 17 and raising a child alone, experiences that shaped both her resilience and her performances. As fame followed, her personal life remained complicated. An engagement to producer Roger Bobb'e in 2016 ended quietly, reinforcing her decision to focus on motherhood and career rather than public romance. Career became her stabilizer. She expanded beyond comedy into dramatic territory, earning praise for emotionally demanding roles while also building a parallel path in music, releasing albums and touring without abandoning acting. Each step forward carried echoes of Janine's struggles: survival, self-redefinition, and persistence. Today, Demetria McKinney is 47 years old, continuing to work in both acting and music. With an estimated net worth of about $2 million earned across television, film, and recording, her journey stands as one of endurance, turning personal adversity into a career defined by emotional truth rather than easy success. Keshia Knight. Pulliam as Miranda Payne. Keshia Knight Pulliam was born on April 9, 1979, in Newark, New Jersey. At 27 years old, she played Miranda Payne, the sharp, ambitious, and emotionally conflicted wife in House of Payne, 2006. Miranda's arrival shifted the show's tone, injecting modern relationship tension into the Payne household and giving the comedy a more grown-up emotional edge. That maturity on screen echoed a difficult personal transition off-screen. After growing up in the public eye, Pulliam's adult relationships unfolded under scrutiny, most painfully during her brief marriage to former NFL player Edgerton Hartwell, whom she married in 2016. The union collapsed quickly into a contentious divorce finalized in 2018, marked by custody battles over their daughter Ella Grace Hartwell, forcing Pulliam to navigate motherhood, legal stress, and public judgment simultaneously. Work became her stabilizing force. She leaned deeper into acting and producing while expanding into entrepreneurship, choosing control and independence over constant reinvention. The emotional discipline she brought to Miranda Payne translated into real life, as she rebuilt trust slowly and deliberately, this time away from headlines. Today, Keshia Knight Pulliam is 47 years old, balancing business ventures with selective work in entertainment. With an estimated net worth of about $2 million built through acting and entrepreneurship, she stands as a rare example of a child star who survived public collapse, reclaimed stability, and reshaped her life on her own terms. Palmer Williams, Jr. As Floyd Jackson, Palmer Williams, Jr. was born on August 14, 1964, in Camden, Alabama. At 41 years old, he played Floyd Jackson, the loud, streetwise barber and comic instigator in House of Payne, 2006. Floyd's presence added rhythm and satire to the series, turning everyday conversations into sharp social commentary that kept the show grounded and unpredictable. That humor was forged far from Hollywood. Raised in rural Alabama, Williams carried the discipline of a working-class background into adulthood, eventually building a life that valued stability over spotlight. Marriage and fatherhood followed quietly. He settled into family life with his wife and 4 children, choosing balance rather than fame as his guiding principle. Career choices reflected that mindset. Alongside his long run as Floyd, he continued working within Tyler Perry's stage and television ecosystem, later extending his visibility through projects like Love Thy Neighbor. At the same time, he invested energy into practical business pursuits, refusing to rely solely on acting for long-term security. Now, Palmer Williams Jr. is 61 years old, living in Alabama and running his own landscaping business while remaining connected to entertainment. With an estimated net worth of around $400,000, his story is less about celebrity ascent and more about sustainability. China. Anne McClain as Jasmine Payne. China. Anne McClain was born on August 25, 1998, in Decatur, Georgia. At 8 years old, she played Jasmine Payne, the precocious, emotionally sharp little girl in House of Payne, 2006. Jasmine's innocence and unexpected wisdom softened the series, often cutting through adult conflict and giving the show its heart. Growing up on screen came with pressure. While audiences watched her mature episode by episode, McClain had to balance education, performance, and constant public attention, learning discipline far earlier than most children her age. As she transitioned out of the sitcom, she carried that momentum into larger platforms, later becoming a defining face of a new Disney generation, and proving she could command both television and music audiences. Rather than chasing constant reinvention, she narrowed her focus. Music gradually took center stage, allowing her to express control and identity beyond scripted roles, while selective acting projects kept her visible without overexposure. That shift reflected a conscious step away from the intensity of child stardom toward creative independence. Today, China Anne McClain is 28 years old, primarily active as a singer while remaining connected to entertainment on her own terms. With an estimated net worth of about $2 million, built through Disney projects and music, her story reflects a rare, steady evolution from child prodigy to self-directed artist. Denise Burse as Claretha Jenkins. Denise Burse was born on January 13, 1952, in Atlanta, Georgia. At 54 years old, she played Claretha Jenkins, the blunt, no-nonsense matriarchal presence in House of Payne, 2006. Claretha's sharp tongue and grounded wisdom added generational depth, anchoring the show in lived experience rather than sitcom exaggeration. That authority was earned over decades. Burse built her craft primarily through theater, choosing training and stage work over quick fame, a path that shaped her discipline and voice. Marriage and a quiet domestic life in New York reinforced that balance, allowing her to sustain a career without sacrificing stability. Her later screen work reflected that foundation. She moved fluidly between television and stage, appearing in critically respected projects such as Black Mirror and Greenleaf, where restraint and presence mattered more than volume. Those roles underscored her reputation as a performer trusted to carry weight without spectacle. Now, Denise Burse is 74 years old, still active in theater and selective screen roles. With an estimated net worth of around $1 million, earned steadily across decades of performance, her career stands as a testament to endurance. Bobb'e J. Thompson as Deshawn Spears. Bobb'e J. Thompson was born on February 28, 1996 in Kansas City, Missouri. At 10 years old, he played Deshawn Spears, the loud, street-smart troublemaker in House of Payne, 2006. Deshawn brought raw, chaotic energy into the series, amplifying the generational clashes and giving the show a sharper, less polished edge whenever he appeared. That intensity followed Thompson off-screen as well. Starting his career at just 5 years old, his childhood became a cycle of auditions, sets, and deadlines, leaving little room for stability. As he grew older, early fame collided with pressure, And while he stayed visible through comedy and film roles, the lack of structure began to show in his personal choices. The turning point came in 2021 when Thompson was arrested at LAX for possession of a stolen firearm, a moment that abruptly reframed his public image. The incident marked a fall from the carefree image of a former child star, replacing nostalgia with concern and forcing his career into an uncertain pause. Today, Bobb'e J. Thompson is 30 years old, alive but navigating the long shadow of legal trouble. With an estimated net worth of about $2.5 million, largely earned during his early acting years, his story stands as a cautionary arc: early success, lost direction, and the fragile line between fame and fallout. Cedric Pendleton as Keenan. Cedric Pendleton was born on December 5, 1973, in Florence, Alabama. At 33 years old, he played Keenan, a minor but grounded supporting presence in House of Payne, 2006. Though not a central figure, Keenan blended naturally into the show's world, reinforcing its sense of everyday realism. That grounding reflected Pendleton's real-life path. Raised in Alabama with limited financial resources, he built his career deliberately, moving between acting and technical work before finding long-term footing in entertainment. Marriage and fatherhood followed quietly, anchoring his life away from public drama while he continued working steadily behind the scenes. As on-screen roles became less frequent, Pendleton shifted focus toward production and creative leadership, applying his experience to larger projects and live events. This transition allowed him to remain influential without relying on visibility alone, turning adaptability into his strongest asset rather than chasing recognition. Now, Cedric Pendleton is 53 years old, working primarily as a producer and creative executive. With an estimated net worth of around $500,000, his career reflects sustainability over spotlight. Eva Marcille as Tracy Evans. Eva Marcille was born on October 30, 1984, in Los Angeles, California. At 22 years old, she played Tracy Evans, the confident, image-conscious romantic foil in House of Payne, 2006. Tracy's presence injected glamour and rivalry into the series, sharpening its look at modern dating and ambition within the Payne universe. That polish masked turbulence. After rising fast from a reality TV victory into scripted roles, Marcille's relationships unfolded publicly, including a high-profile romance with Lance Gross that ended before marriage. The scrutiny intensified years later during her marriage to attorney Michael Sterling. They wed in 2018, built a blended family, and then unraveled into a highly watched separation finalized in 2023, with 3 children at the center of the emotional fallout. Work became a refuge and a reset. She leaned into television hosting and acting, balancing visibility with control while reshaping her brand beyond modeling. The shift demanded resilience while she kept her career moving in front of the camera and behind the mic. Today, Eva Marcille is 42 years old, active as a host and media personality. With an estimated net worth of about $4 million earned through reality television, acting, and hosting, her story reads as reinvention after rupture, proof that public life can bend without breaking. Robinne Lee as Nicole Jameson. Robinne Lee was born on July 16, 1974, in Mount Vernon, New York. At 32 years old, she played Nicole Jameson, the poised, articulate professional in House of Payne, 2006. Nicole's calm intelligence added contrast to the show's louder personalities, widening its emotional register with restraint rather than volume. That restraint mirrored her private life. Married to Eric Hayes since 2001, Lee built a steady home while pursuing acting, an uncommon balance in an industry defined by volatility. The stability allowed her to take risks creatively without risking the ground beneath her family. Those risks paid off through diversification. Alongside film and television, Lee redirected her analytical training into authorship, channeling experience into fiction and expanding her identity beyond the screen with a debut novel that found a wide audience and a successful adaptation, an evolution that rewarded patience over speed. Today, Robinne Lee is 52 years old, active as both an actress and author. With an estimated net worth of around $1 million drawn from screen work and publishing, her career tells a quieter story of longevity, where discipline, partnership, and reinvention move in the same direction. Bart Hansard as Bart. Bart Hansard was born on September 12, 1963, in Atlanta, Georgia. At 43 years old, he played Bart, a recurring blue-collar presence woven naturally into the neighborhood world of House of Payne, 2006. Though understated, the role added texture and authenticity, reinforcing the show's sense of everyday Southern life rather than sitcom exaggeration. That grounded presence reflected Hansard's real journey. Building a career outside Hollywood's center came with limits. Auditions were fewer, visibility was modest, and recognition arrived slowly. Instead of chasing relocation or sudden fame, he chose persistence, stacking steady character work and earning trust as a dependable performer within Georgia's growing production scene. As television and film opportunities expanded locally, Hansard continued to evolve without abandoning his roots. Appearances in larger projects like Deja Vu and later Stranger Things fit naturally into a career defined by consistency, while teaching acting allowed him to pass craft and discipline to a new generation, turning experience into continuity. Today, Bart Hansard is 63 years old, living in Georgia and remaining active through local productions and instruction. With an estimated net worth of around $500,000, built through decades of working roles and community involvement, his story is one of quiet endurance, proof that not every lasting career needs the spotlight to matter. Bobbi Baker as Kiki. Bobbi Baker was born in the early 1980s in the United States. At 24 years old, she played Kiki, a sharp, street-aware supporting character in House of Payne, 2006. While her role was brief, Kiki added grit and realism to the show's everyday Atlanta setting, helping the series feel grounded beyond its core family. That supporting presence fits Baker's broader career trajectory. Rather than being positioned as a breakout lead, she worked steadily in character-driven roles, carving space through reliability and tone rather than exposure. This approach allowed her to remain adaptable as television storytelling shifted toward darker, more psychological narratives. As opportunities evolved, Baker transitioned smoothly into more intense dramatic material, appearing in series that demanded restraint and emotional control instead of sitcom rhythm. Her career reflects quiet progression. Today, Bobbi Baker is 44 years old, remaining active in television with selective projects. With an estimated net worth of approximately $500,000, built through consistent screen work rather than stardom, her path illustrates how longevity in the industry is often sustained by discipline, patience, and timing rather than fame. Denise Lawton as Dana Carter. Denise Lawton was born on May 2, 1978, in Seoul, South Korea. At 30 years old, she played Dana Carter, a confident, image-driven romantic interest in House of Payne. Dana's arc added tension and contrast to the series, sharpening its look at ambition, jealousy, and modern relationships within the Payne orbit. That poised screen presence reflected a career built on visibility and versatility rather than permanence. With no publicly documented marriage shaping her narrative, Lawton leaned into work, modeling, music videos, and screen roles, building recognition through recurring appearances and covers that kept her profile current while she navigated a competitive industry. As opportunities evolved, she broadened her range into dramatic territory, pairing polished charisma with restraint. Roles beyond sitcom rhythms allowed her to recalibrate momentum, proving adaptability without chasing constant reinvention and keeping her name in circulation across different formats. Today, Denise Lawton is 48 years old, continuing selective acting and modeling work. With an estimated net worth of about $1 million earned through recurring television roles and modeling, her career reads as measured persistence, maintaining relevance by choosing balance over noise. 20 years after House of Payne first aired, these familiar faces tell stories far bigger than the laughs we remember. Stories of growth, loss, resilience, and survival long after the cameras stopped rolling. Some quietly rebuilt their lives, some reinvented themselves, and others were changed forever by early fame. Which cast member's journey surprised you the most after 20 years? If you enjoyed this House of Payne 2006 Cast Then and Now 2026 deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more real stories behind the shows that shaped a generation.